Hey everybody, Steve Ferguson here, your modern mortgage loan advisor. Continuing with the Mortgage 101 series today, we're going to talk about what happens at closing. Now, before we get started, don't forget, subscribe, like, share, post your questions, share this with friends or family. I want to make sure that everybody's educated as to what's going on. So let's get started. Now, I'm based in Texas, so I'm going to talk about Texas law. There's variations on some things that happen in other states. So please make sure you ask somebody who's knowledgeable in the other states as to what those specific laws are and how that's going to operate. So now that we're going to closing, this means that you've achieved a clear to close on your mortgage loan, and the mortgage company has let the title company know in the state of Texas and in California and other areas that may be an escrow company or an attorney's office that, hey, look, this borrower is ready to close. We're going to send you loan documents to the closing person, whoever that happens to be. And again, in Texas, it's at the title company. That's the escrow officer. And we send all those documents with instructions on what has to be signed at closing and anything that may, still need to be gathered at closing. The title company representative puts all those things together. They usually reach out to you as the borrower and they schedule the closing date and time. Now, that can vary depending on what you've got going on and what their schedule looks like. And it depends on how busy it is and depends on the time of the month too, because it gets busier towards the end of the month. So they schedule this with you and they send you a list of things that you're going to want to bring to closing. Now, on our team as well, we also email you out as the customer to let you know, hey, don't forget, you're going to need a valid copy of an ID, like a driver's license. And you may need a second ID that is also current that confirms your information. You also need to bring any funds to closing that are required. So for example, if you need to bring, 100 grand to closing, then you're going to have to coordinate with the title company to make sure you get those funds into the title company's account. Now, important information about that. The title company is not going to let you just bring a check for a bunch of money. So you can't show up to closing and forget about verifying the money to close. You have to do that in advance. Most of the time, the title company is going to require you to wire those funds. So you want to make sure you set up the wire. You want to get the wiring instructions from the title company and then call the title company to verify those wiring instructions. That is a huge point of fraud right now. Don't send money to anybody that you don't know or that you have not confirmed. It is worth the extra 2 or 3 minutes it takes to pick up the phone to call the title company to confirm those instructions. Once you've confirmed that, you wire your funds. Now, there are situations where you may be wiring funds before you know the final closing number, and that's because you're getting close to the end. We're trying to push a loan through, and so as a loan officer or a mortgage company, they may give you a conservative number, and then hoping that that number comes in lower at closing, and you would just get a refund from title if that's the case. So in that situation, you're going to wire a little bit more than you would need, but once the final closing disclosure is out, you're going to know the exact amount of money to wire and get it over to them. So you're going to show up to closing on closing day. You're going to have current valid IDs. Everybody that's on that transaction needs to show up to closing. So for example, if you're married and your spouse is on the mortgage loan themselves, which in a community property state, they're going to have to sign documents no matter what, they need to be with you when you go to closing, or you need to coordinate with the title company and the lender to let them know that they cannot be there. So a power of attorney may be necessary, or a mobile notary may be necessary, or there may need to be, the closing staged over multiple hours. And we even in some situations occur where the closing takes place over a couple of days. Now, that's really important to remember that you don't want to show up and only you show up when there's 4 different people on the mortgage loan. Everybody's got to sign their part. So you show up, you get prepared, you go in, they're going to give you some snacks, probably a bottle of water, welcome you in. You're going to sit at a table with the closer, whoever that closer happens to be. They're also going to be a notary, most likely. Sometimes your loan officer will be there and sometimes your agent will be there. And you guys are all going to sit at a table and you're going to go over all the closing documents. Now, a lot of those closing documents you've seen before. It's all the initial disclosures that you signed. You're essentially signing them all again with the accurate information on there. Everything is finalized and put in place. Whatever you sign at closing is not going to be changed. It is done. Those signatures, all that information that's in there, the numbers that are in there, they are not going to change after closing. Those are set things. So keep that in mind as you're signing those documents. Everybody at that table is there to help answer your questions. Make sure you're comfortable with everything that you're signing and explain it in a way that you understand it. Once you sign all those documents, the seller still has to sign. Sometimes they sign before you do. Sometimes they sign at the same table as you. Most of the time they sign after you. And then they signed not near as many documents as you signed, but their pieces of the documents, and then it's considered closed. Now, a loan is not closed until it's funded. I want you to pay attention to my next video because we're going to talk about the funding process. But I want to get a very clear idea here for you guys is show up on time, bring the people who are on the mortgage loan, make sure you have valid IDs, make sure you get your money worked out in advance. Don't show up the day of still trying to figure out your money. Make sure it's in advance. And that way you're going to have a smooth, clean, crystal clear closing, and you're going to love the process. Hope this helps, guys. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.